Country mornings are always wrapped in mist and birdsong, and the simple ridges of the fields hold the most plain and profound truths of life. In a remote village lived a hard-working old farmer who owned an elderly donkey that had stayed by his side for many years. Faithful and docile, the donkey had spent decades plowing the fields and carrying loads for the farmer, accompanying him through every farming season. It had long been an indispensable partner in the household. Yet time spares no living creature. As the years went by, the donkey's steps grew slower, its coat lost its luster, and it no longer possessed the vigor of its youth. Still, it remained gentle and steadfast, quietly guarding the little farm all along. One peaceful afternoon, with warm sunshine and soft breezes, the donkey wandered leisurely on the wasteland beside the fields, grazing on fresh, green grass. It knew every plant and patch of land there, yet it failed to notice an abandoned dry well hidden deep in the weeds. The well had long run dry, its mouth half covered by overgrown grass and surrounded by loose, crumbling soil concealed and dangerously treacherous. In an unguarded moment, the donkey stepped into empty air. It lost balance in an instant and fell heavily into the dark, deep well with a shrill cry. The well was steep and narrow, its inner walls damp, slippery, and icy cold, and the hard bottom bruised the donkey all over. Caught off guard by the fall, the donkey panicked violently. It kicked its legs frantically and stared upward at the tiny patch of light above, leaping repeatedly in a desperate attempt to escape. But there was no foothold on the sheer well walls, and every struggle ended in vain. Battered and aching all over, the donkey panted heavily, its breath echoing in the enclosed space, swallowed by overwhelming despair. The farmer working nearby heard the donkey's miserable cry and rushed over in alarm. Seeing his loyal companion trapped at the bottom of the deep well, he was filled with anxiety. This donkey had stood by him through thick and thin for years, and he was unwilling to give up on it easily. He leaned down to gauge the depth of the well and tried to reach the donkey, but the opening was far too high. He then fetched ropes and ladders, yet the soft, uneven soil of the well wall offered no stable support. Every method he tried ended in failure. Refusing to surrender, the farmer kept trying relentlessly under the scorching sun for hours on end. His clothes were soaked with sweat, his hands covered in dirt, but he could not rescue the donkey. By then, the exhausted donkey had no strength left to struggle. It let out low, hoarse, sorrowful whimpers that tugged at the heart, echoing pitifully across the quiet countryside, staring at the dispirited donkey in the endless dark well. The farmer was overcome by helplessness. He looked at the old, worn-out donkey and reasoned that it was already too aged to endure hardship. Even if it were rescued, it would likely suffer permanent injuries and never recover. Rather than letting it endure lingering fear, hunger, and pain in the well until its last breath, he thought it kinder to grant it a peaceful end. Moreover, the open abandoned well was a hidden danger in the village, posing a threat to wandering livestock and playing children. After careful consideration, the farmer made a painful decision: to fill the well with soil, ending the donkey's suffering and eliminating the village's safety hazard. With his mind made up, the farmer went door to door to ask his neighbors for help. Kind villagers arrived one after another with shovels ready to assist him. Standing around the well, they looked down at the helpless donkey with pity and regret. Yet they followed the farmer's wish and began shoveling earth into the well. Fine soil rustled down continuously, falling on the donkey's head, back, and neck. Trapped in the dark well, the donkey soon realized what was happening. When it felt the cold soil pouring over its body, it understood bitterly that its owner had abandoned it and intended to bury it alive. In that instant, overwhelming grief, grievance, and despair washed over it. It curled up in the well as piles of soil accumulated on its body, letting out desperate, heartbreaking cries, wondering why its lifelong loyalty and hard work had ended in such a miserable fate. Moved by the donkey's pitiful wails, The villagers slowed their movements with sighs, yet they continued shoveling earth into the well without pause. Everyone assumed the donkey would soon give up and perish under the accumulating soil. To their great surprise, the desperate whimpers gradually faded and finally fell silent. Confused, the villagers stopped working and peered down into the well, only to witness an astonishing sight that left them utterly stunned. The donkey, once sunk in despair, had cast off all hopelessness and panic. Faced with the endless stream of falling soil, it stopped crying and resisting, remaining calm and composed. Every time a pile of earth landed on its back, it would gently shake its body, brush the soil off onto the well floor, and then step firmly onto the newly formed mound. With no guidance or assistance, the donkey forged a way to survive entirely on its own in the desperate predicament. The soil that was meant to bury it became its stepping stones to freedom. Steady and unhurried, it shook off the heavy burden time and again and climbed upward step by step, turning a fatal disaster into the foundation of its salvation. The villagers stood motionless around the well, filled with shock and admiration. They had never seen such a wise and resilient creature, one that refused to yield to despair even in the darkest abyss, choosing to save itself against all odds. As more soil piled up, the donkey kept rising steadily. Fear and hopelessness faded completely from its eyes, replaced by unwavering resolve and courage. After a long struggle, with the last shovel of soil falling into the well, the donkey stood atop the high mound, leaped nimbly out of the trap that had confined it, and landed safely on the ground. Free at last, the donkey shook off the remaining dirt on its body. It glanced calmly at the stunned farmer and villagers, then turned and walked steadily away from the place of its ordeal. The onlookers watched its retreating figure in prolonged silence, filled with sincere admiration and emotion. This simple story of an old donkey embodies the most profound wisdom of life. On the long journey of life, every one of us may fall into the dry well of adversity. We may be trapped by sudden setbacks, unexpected hardships, unfair judgment from others, or immense pressure from life. These difficulties and frustrations are like the endless soil pouring down on us, weighing heavily on our shoulders and leaving us feeling depressed, confused, and hopeless. More often than not, when we sink into low points and hardships, our first reaction is to complain, evade, and give up. We allow setbacks to overwhelm us and misfortune to bury us, until we collapse completely in despair. Yet this donkey teaches us a timeless truth. No predicament is a final end. The key to rebirth always lies within ourselves. All the pressures, setbacks, grievances, and hardships that life throws at us may seem like heavy chains meant to trap and crush us, but they are actually the stepping stones that elevate our lives. If we choose to shrink back, complain, and sink into negativity, these hardships will weigh us down and trap us in the valley of failure forever. But if we learn from the donkey to accept hardships calmly, let go of burdens bravely, and refuse to be defined by adversity, we can step on every difficulty and setback, climb out of the abyss, and rise stronger than before. There is no absolute despair in life, only a willingness to give up. Every suffering in the valley is nourishment for growth, and every setback is a ladder for progress. Adversity is nothing but an opportunity for us to transform and improve ourselves. May we all possess the donkey's resilience and clarity for the rest of our lives. Faced with life's storms and hardships, let us never complain, never despair, and never retreat. Let us embrace every trial, shake off every heavy burden, turn hardships into stepping stones, and turn setbacks into confidence. Let us accumulate strength in low moments, achieve rebirth in adversity, elevate our lives step by step, and walk toward a bright future of our own making.